Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry about that slight delay there. We managed to sort out the problem. Alton should be in the call now. Yes, there he is. So yeah, I will hand over to Alton soon. I just want to say welcome and thank you for everyone joining us today. Some new faces and some familiar faces. We also have the SCADA team with us today. So yeah, like a full house. We're excited to share more information about our meter control solutions, and there's no better guy to do it than Alton. So he's going to take you through a couple of slides and then go a bit more technical. I will also share a message in the group with a link where you can then find the recording afterwards. While you are there, you'll see there is some recordings and presentations and event photos and everything you can possibly find regarding our events, trainings, and webinars on that same page if you want to look at the archive a little bit. And then you'll also see some upcoming events, which you're all more than welcome to join us for. Okay, so not to make this too long, over to you, Alton.
Okay, let's see. Hi, everyone. Apologies for the delays there. We had a few technical glitches on our side. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. As I already did the introductions. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you cannot, please just drop the text on the chat and then we can fix that. Okay, perfect. So without further ado, I'm just gonna share my slide and then we can start. So basically what I want to talk about is meteocontrol's offering that IBC services in the African region. So meteocontrol is a hardware and software solution based in Germany, which IBC Solar redistributes as the main distributor or the only distributor in Africa. So basically, when it comes to meteocontrol, they offer smart control for renewable energy and storage, which is something new that is being in for about 2 years. We've been working on HEMS license, IBC, together with meteocontrol to put in the South African market, looking at the South African market's needs. And then also from asset management to advisory, tailored to you. So basically this entails to EPC companies, your asset managers, your property developers. We have decided to do a full offering of meteocontrol in the South African market. Meteocontrol have been there for 25 years plus in the energy market, and they are very well versed in the monitoring side of solar plants and also the control side of things. And when it comes to their control, it's easy and it's flexible. It's easy to plan around that. It just works. So on the next slide, I'll just show you the target. I would say the target market. Not fully exhaustive, but then this is where, as IBC, we decided that looking at how the South African market is going, targeting this and working together with meteocontrol to bring the software and the hardware to the African market would be very helpful to your asset managers, your operation and maintenance, your project developers, your EPC companies, your energy traders, and your IPP. And it's going to be very interesting next year. I think most of you already know that the energy market is changing. There's going to be more players in the energy market. There's a lot of things that are coming up, and meteocontrol, from the control perspective, from grid compliance to making sure that it's compliant. Your category A, B, and C, that is already ready for deployment. There are a few sites already ready for that, and also from the monitoring side, your power performance ratio, your weather forecast, which is something next year, this will be a very huge topic. Yeah, then you can just go to the next slide. Okay, so I've already mentioned a few here, but then the solutions for the project developers and EPC companies would be, we as IBC are now offering project execution, which entails the starting of the project to the end of the project, from technical engineering to deployment to project management. This is something that we are now offering in partnership with meteocontrol to make sure that the solution and technical knowledge is then handed over to the client, and they're well aware of what's taking place. So this is like from the beginning, as mentioned, end-to-end support, the planning, the monitoring, and the control side, and the technical support afterwards. So we are growing the team, and we see our meter control have also seen that there is need for this. We have a new business development manager here in South Africa locally. So this is going to be a very interesting journey for IBC and meter control together in the South African market. And yeah, we would like to then share the solution with everyone. So as an if you can just continue. Okay, so I did mention a few things previously. This was just me touching ground on what my focus will be today. If you're looking at, so what we have decided with meteor control is to offer specialized cabinets. These cabinets are currently only found with IBC. These cabinets, we discussed them with meteor control to see what are the needs of the South African market, the African market, from CNI to utility scale. Meteor control have been very strong in utility scale. There's a lot of plants currently running on meteor control software and hardware, but we're also now targeting also CNI space. As we can see that there's a lot of great compliance coming up in category A, B, or C, and this is something that we have discussed that we need to build something specifically for the South African market and make sure that we cater to it through IBC. So Susanna, if you just go forward, I'll just show you a brief description of our cabinets. So I will just stop the slide shortly. So you can see this is somewhat what the slides look like. This is not the exactly as built one, but this is what most of the cabinets will look like. Inside the cabinet is the heart of the cabinet, which is the blue log. And you have your energy meters, you have your UPS, you have your PLC, all the hardware that you need, all incorporated into one cabinet. So you don't have to worry about the whole design and the whole planning. Everything is already done for you and it's ready for deployment. So the PPC cabinet ensures regulation of power, voltage, facilitating efficiency management of diverse PV systems. When we talk about PV systems, we are talking about your grid tie, we're talking about your BESS solution, we're talking about your generator integration. All of that is already ready for deployment with our PPC cabinets found at IBC. So this is quite nice also to know that the blue log also, we're not just talking about small scale to say, okay, you can do control only on a low voltage scale. We are talking from LV to MV control capabilities. So this is nice for your CNI guys, a little bit of a higher CNI space. I mean, anything from 100 kilowatt going upwards, we are ready to deploy that. We have a few cabinets that are already deployed, which we started this year, and it seems like people are loving it, and it just works. So then if you can just carry on. Okay, so let's talk about the compliance. If we're looking at compliance with national and international grid codes, these are, so I'll specifically only touch on the South African market. If you look at the South African market, City of Cape Town, ESCOM, I know that Joburg is coming around now with all the whole grid compliance thing, and hopefully they do catch up. But in areas where we're looking in Cape Town areas, mostly around the Cape Town areas, there has been a huge requirement for grid compliance with category A3, and anything more than 100 kilowatt peak to 1 megawatt. It has to be compliant with the City of Cape Town. So what does that mean? It means that, okay, they have to, I mean, the SCADA solution is not yet ready from the City of Cape Town yet, but however, they are planning on it. What they do is then they come in with their tester to test anything. Let's say we're now talking about 100 kilowatt to 1 megawatt, where they will test grid compliance. We're talking about the ramp up of your plant. We're talking about the communication of the plant, looking at the production of the plant, but using industrial automation standards, which is I'll just name the two, which are a requirement, which is your IEC 104 and also your DMP3. Mainly, you'll see a lot of people doing DMP3, which is widely used here in Cape Town. However, the option to do IEC 104 is also there. So that's why we're talking about grid compliance, and not just the city of Cape Town. We're also looking at ESCOM itself. ESCOM has their own criteria. I mean, with ESCOM, let's say, for instance, we're looking at category B. Category B has its own requirements, very detailed requirements, which needs to be done. The PPC cabinets that we have as IBC store and IBC have been created having that in mind, to say that if it's a category A, B, or C, it should be ready for it. It will just be a matter of commissioning and the software that needs to be integrated. However, the hardware never changes. So we are there to offer support. Our cabinets are very flexible. Our system design support is there. Meteocontrol, with IBC and meteocontrol working together to make sure that we help you EPC companies, asset managers, and financing companies. It's very simple, very user-friendly, and everything just works. With our PPC cabinets, the plan is to make life easy for you guys, and just to take off that pain of having to do everything yourself or having to hire someone. So this is the cabinets that we do offer. This ranges from we can do from 100 kilowatts to infinity utility scale. So Zane, if we can just carry on. Okay, so there is something else that we are now offering, which is the SCADA system. SCADA system is now what we're talking about. When we talk about SCADA system, this is a bit different from your DNP3 grid requirements. This is when you talk about SCADA system, we're talking about the in-house SCADA solution. So when it comes to grid compliance, you'll find that there's other plants where they want to store data locally. I mean, if you usually see that around mining industries, around industrial automation sites, where not everyone wants to store data on online over the internet, but they just want to store the data locally and have a local technician there doing your SCADA solutions such as your CMMS, everything that is more industrial automation style, or let's say mining, which we see now in the solar industry. I mean, it's more of an energy. You'll find that in your energy sector, your water sector, it is an electrical thing. You'll find SCADA solutions basically in everything. But this is now what we as IBC now offer through meteocontrol, to say that we would like to offer this to EPC companies, to asset managers, to say, if there's a SCADA solution that's needed in-house with your specifications, because it's more specific, it's a project specific. You have to then decide, this is what we want for our SCADA. We want to store locally. How do you want to store it? This is an offering that we as IBC now offer. It's directly compatible with our Blue Logs. It's directly compatible with the whole cabinet. So you can have your servers on site and have your power plant controller. And we think that this is a game changer in comparison to what other power plant controllers offer in South Africa. I think this is something new. This is something that meteocontrol have developed over so many years and have implemented already in Africa for so many years. And we as IBC have seen that, and we have just decided to grasp on this, and we are ready to offer this to you guys. So yeah, and then you can just continue. Okay, so we already touched on that. So with the solution that we have, the whole point is to maximize yield and economic efficiency. When we talk about our VCOM, we have VCOM which is something that I'll go through now. This is just a small introduction to show you what we're offering and the reason why we're offering it. And I'll then just log into VCOM to show you guys what VCOM actually looks like. And then if there's any questions, you can just write them down in the chat, and then we can just tackle it. If you don't respond now, or if I don't have the answers now, we can then later on just give you feedback. So you can just leave your email, and then we can come back to you. So when you're looking at VCOM, we're talking about maximizing yields and economic efficiency. The VCOM is a digital tool for automation and fast error correction. So it's a goal driven for optimization for every project. We track key metrics and scale with confidence, reports, and analysis that drive long-term success. So what do we mean by all this points? What we are talking about is like the whole VCOM, or the monitoring side of meteocontrol, is to make sure that you as an asset manager, you as an EPC company, what you have decided to say, this is the expected energy, We are there to offer you a solution that does the whole calculations for you to monitor on VCOM to see if your site is actually doing what it's supposed to give you reports and analysis of your plant. You can automate this and then have a monthly report or weekly report. It's just a matter of you tweaking a few things, but this is already available for you. We have seen so many sites over the past few years where installations have been done without any operation and maintenance contracts, nothing whatsoever. And people just install and leave the site to say, okay, the site will operate as it is, the job is done. But looking at that, solar or energy is not just an installation and you just leave. There is work that needs to be done at the end. There needs to be monitoring, there needs to be operation and maintenance that takes place, there needs to be reporting and analysis. Because at the end of the day, you have guaranteed the client a performance. There's a performance guarantee, for instance, to say this is how much energy you will get. Now you need a software that's easily able to then integrate with different types of sites, with different types of brands, and give you the one full solution and to do your calculations based on international standards. If you're looking at your performance ratio, the calculations are there based on international IEC standards. So we are proud to say that the calculations and everything that is on VCOM is compliant and is ready for what's to come in the South African market next year. Okay, so next. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you just one case study of the cabinet that we have. This cabinet, we as IBC, this was the first official generator control. And when I said that IBC is working hand in hand with meteocontrol, this is one case study I just decided to take where we work directly with meteocontrol. Most of you will know that the Blue Lock works only with one generator, like officially on paper, one generator only to do generator integration. So we as IBC decided to work and see how the South African market, what the South African market needs. And we have seen that there's a lot of malls, there's a lot of places where there's just more than one generator. So something we can run away from, but we need to come up with a solution that works to then integrate 2 generators plus. So the sky is the limit. Now it's just a matter of then doing the whole programming. So this is the first case study that IBC took on itself to do the whole control algorithm and everything and put it together with the cabinets that we're selling. And as you can see there, there's a Blue Lock, there's an energy meter, there's a UPS, there's a switch and the router, and you can see that there's a batteries there and then just terminals just to make life easy in terms of connection, that you don't have to connect onto the hardware, but connect under the terminals. So this is a very user-friendly cabinet. And what we decided, what we did, this is the first cabinet where we actually were able to manage 2 generators with 100 kilowatt peak solar plant, where we also did grid compliance. So all of this was mixed together to make sure that the plant was grid compliant and to make sure that the safety of the generators, that each generator, not just the total summation of the generator, but each generator's output power is met, so that we don't damage the generators over time. Then you'd have to do more maintenance generators and damages the generators if you then underwork them, because now you have a solar PV plant installed. So this is just one of the case studies that I wanted to share, that we are working hard, we are making sure that the cabinets that we have cater to the South African market. So this was a 500 kilowatt peak, then you know that, okay, that is then between 100 kilowatt to 1 megawatt, and your grid compliance comes in, your DNP3 or your IEC 104 comes in. So yeah, that's the case study. And there's you can just, I don't know if there's any questions about this, but if there is, I think I'll just have a look at the chat quickly. So there's no questions so far. So I will now and then just stop to have a look, but if there's no questions, we can just continue. So now, as IBC is the sole distributor in Africa for the hardware and VCOM. We do offer one-year licenses, which are ranged based on kilowatt peak. And I think if I have a look here, I did see some few familiar faces. Most of you already know that we do offer one-year licenses and how it ranges. But if you do have any questions regarding that, please feel free to just drop your email, and then your sales manager or someone will then be in contact with you just to give you a more broader explanation on the licenses, how we do price them, and how to actually select the license based on your plant. So we don't just leave you alone. We make sure that we give you the right VCOM license based on your plant, and then we also create the plant for you online so that you can have access to it. So when it comes to VCOM, it's quite easy. What happens is you have access to it over your phone, which is the mobile app or the browser, or then your browser. And then we have what we call the CMMS, which is part and parcel of your SCADA side of things. But then that also comes with the software where you can actually do work orders on your phone to issue out electricians, to issue out whatever it is needs to be done for you to actually do your ticketing system on VCOM. All of this is readily available. We're not just talking monitoring solar plants, we're talking efficiency, optimization when we're looking at VCOM. So there is more to VCOM than just monitoring. There's also control, the control aspect of your internal asset management department, how to then do your ticketing system, how to know how long did it take you to fix the problem. All of that you can incorporate on your VCOM and just use that as your internal software, not just to monitor, but also to track work orders or your operation and maintenance jobs per plant or your whole full portfolio. Okay, so that you can continue. So I've already touched on this. Now breaking down the cabinets, there's a core, there's a plus, there's a max, and there's ultimate variant. This is something that we do offer. I'm not going to touch too much on this. This documentation will be available for you to read. I've already explained a few things about the cabinets, what they do. We do have small variants, which is just to only monitor. But then the main focus of today is compliance and also monitoring. So we have different kinds of cabinets. Some cabinets are specifically designed for the South African market. Some are designed for utility scale, which is readily available. As you can see that there's different types of pictures of the cabinets that we do offer. There are descriptions of some few which are standardized, which is the core, the plus, and the max, which I just mentioned. And yeah, it comes pre-wired. The electrical system design is also available. We do help you also with the commissioning and the project execution. So then you can carry on. Okay, so I'll just touch now on the heart of the whole power plant controllers, which is the blue log. The blue log, there's been a few variants in the past few years, but then what's currently now available is what we call the blue log X series, which is the heart of the power plant and control of the cabinets that we currently offer. So what it does, it records all the data that's in your solar plant, from your irradiance sensor, your weather station, your inverters, your PV check meter, your grid meter. All that data can be integrated into the blue log, and also including your you can see your generators as well can be incorporated. You want to see your fuel levels, everything can be incorporated into the blue log, and we push that data off to VCOM, which is then you can do your own analysis depending on how you internally work. That is really available. So when we talk about the blue log X series as well, there's two variants. There's the XM and the XC. The XM is just for monitoring. The XC is to do control. But then within these two variants, they are sized. If you're looking at an XM 200, means you can monitor up to 200 kilowatt AC. If you're looking at no control is included there, but if you're looking at an XC 200, you can do control of up to 200 kilowatt AC. So there are different variants. If you have a 1 megawatt, there is a blue log specifically for 1 megawatt. But then the nice thing about this is, which makes it very attractive, is in most cases you're asked to give out a code for hardware that's compatible to do generator integration, grid compliance, hybrid control. The nice thing about the blue log is the hardware is always the same. The only difference is the software. So you can rest assured that in the next 5 years, you don't have to take out the hardware and put in a new hardware because now the client wants to integrate something else, or maybe integrate from a best solution into a grid tie. You just have to then come to IBC and purchase a license that will then be able to incorporate best solution. So the hardware is always the same, which is very nice. So this, we call this the Blue Leg X series, monitoring and control. That's the main two difference that you need to know. Even though it's monitoring, it's still the same hardware. You can always change your XM to a control. It's just the license upgrade and fixes everything. Yeah. Any questions so far? If I am moving too fast, please do let me know. I am trying to summarize as much as possible, but yeah. I think some topics you just have to tackle it one topic at a time. But today I'm just trying to summarize, and I would really like to engage with everyone. If you have any questions, do email your sales manager, and they will just handle all your inquiries. And I think it's at the last slide. I think it should be a few slides. Okay, perfect. So now there's what we call the meteorological accessories. Now these accessories are very important to have in a solar plant. In other categories, a weather station is needed. If you are working in utility scale, you will understand the necessity of having a weather station, pyranometer, radiance sensor, ranging from looking at your wind speed all the way to looking at the ambient temperature. So this is something that meteocontrol does offer, which IBC offers for the African market. We're looking at the weather station. We do offer this. Is something that if you just want to have, if you have any questions, you can just reach out to us. And then we can just also talk about the importance of having a radiance sensor on your side. It's very nice to have satellite forecast, but the best thing to have is a radiance sensor, a pyranometer. As long as you get a radiance calculations from it, it's very nice. If you get your ambient, if you get your module temperature, because now at the end of the day, what the manufacturers of modules, they will give you standard watts for their modules based on specific temperatures or different criteria. Also, there are certain aspects in which they tested it, and then we are able to then incorporate this data from the radiance sensor to say, okay, the temperature is currently, the ambient temperature is that value, your module temperature is that value, there is that value. Henceforth, based on the panels that you installed, we are then expecting a yield of this much. So this is something that we do offer, and this is something I'm also going to touch through during the whole VCOM showcasing, just to show you what it actually looks like. But yeah, I think that is the last slide. So if you can just verify for me there, I think okay, perfect. So now I'm going to log into VCOM, and I'll just show you what VCOM looks like. Most of you are already familiar, but I will then just share my screen on my side to show what VCOM looks like and just give you the rundown of what is happening. Okay. So let's have a look at this. Can you just let me know if you see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so this is what VCOM looks like. In a sense, I'm just gonna see. Okay, I prefer using this. Just a personal preference. If you also have your preference, you can use white or you can use the black theme. So this is what your VCOM would look like. I just decided to create 2 demo sites here. You'll see that the site here, just a demo, located somewhere in Bloemfontein. Okay, something is happening. Oh, okay. It was just taking a bit of time. Okay. So I'll just log into the site. You'll see here that this account says I have 2 systems on my site, a central media and an IBC test bench. So if you look here, you'll see the installed capacity of your whole portfolio if you have your VCOM account, and then you'll see that your site will sit there. So I'm just going to do this. I'm sure this is showing up like that, but okay. So now let's now, for instance, take a site. I'll just take here. You'll see that, okay, you have two icons there, which is basically your alarm notifications, and then you have your system configuration over there. So what I'll do now is I'll just click on this, which is the third icon for evaluation. I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to touch on a few key aspects that will be very beneficial, and to show you why you would need VCOM portfolio as management. So the nice thing about this as it's loading, I don't know, it's taking a bit of time, is it doesn't matter what brand you have. Let's say you are a property developer or an asset manager who has a test sitting in Khayelitsha, Sangro sitting somewhere in Joburg, Huawei sitting somewhere in Cape Town. You don't have to log into 3 different monitoring platforms, and you don't have to be dependent then, because, like, for instance, Sangro has its own monitoring, it's only for Sangro. Similar case with the test and other different brands. What meteocontrol does, it will incorporate all that data, grabbing data from a test, grabbing data from Huawei, grabbing data from whatever portfolio you have, and then just putting in one monitoring platform, which makes life easy for you without having 100 login details. And then what we do is, with just all those details, it's not just only grabbing the data, it's also then doing a calculation based on the data that's coming in, and what data and the data that you've inputted into VCOM on the technical data to say that you have 100 kilowatt peak on the roof. The size of the inverter is, let's say, maybe 90 kilowatt AC. Production at this moment is this. What's the solar forecast and how much losses are there? What am I to expect if I'm doing 0 feed-in or if I'm doing full feed-in? Because those are the things that can affect your performance ratio, the performance ratio of your plant. It's not just the panels are not clean, they need to be cleaned up, but you need to consider the fact that when you do 0 feed-in, you do curtail your inverters, and if you overpopulate the inverters, you also see losses. Because in the morning it's perfect, but during the day there's a huge, it will clip off on the current, but then it's always about meeting that perfect balance, which I think using VCOM, it then gives you a description of the performance ratio of your site based on how much you actually input, how much DC you have on your inverters, and how much AC capacity your inverter has, how the curtailment that's already there, and also if you are feeding back or you're feeding back or you're doing something. So anyway, you'll see here, this is my first site. I don't know what inverter it is. I mean, you can probably check, but then you'll see that your energy generation, this is sort of like what your energy generation will look like. I'm not sure if it's visible enough or if it's too small, but please do let me know. Just probably check on the chat if everybody's fine. Okay, I think everybody's fine. Anyway, so you'll see this is your energy generation. This is the generation that you'll see, which is coming up from your PV, and you can sort of like try to see on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. You can input that data in and select which date you want to see your power. So you'll see that actually there was an irradiance and something happened to the irradiance, which is something we probably need to look at. But this is interpolated satellite. Okay, so this is your satellite data. So you can see there that the power and what the point of array irradiance is giving you is actually during the day it's a bit off. It's like when you want to see perfect production, you sort of want to see a mountain. So you can see here that, I mean, just by looking at it, you can see, okay, from the irradiance, this is how much I'm supposed to expect. However, from the production that I'm getting, in the morning, it's perfect. But when you start looking at the day, you sort of see some weird curves happening there, which could be due to many things. But then one of the things we'll be looking at is the curtailment to the plant. Maybe if there is, then you can then pinpoint why you're not reaching your maximum point. Or maybe the panels have to be clean. So there are many factors. Maybe the fuse blew. There's so many factors that need to be considered. And you can see there's a drop there with the irradiance. So a bit, and you can see also on the power itself from the inverters, there was a bit of a drop, but still we're not meeting targets. So these are the things that you just need, which makes VCOM very nice. You can have an analysis and just view, And then immediately just by viewing, okay, we need to have some visualization and see what's happening. I send someone to site, or you can first look into VCOM. There's other factors that you can look in, other KPIs that you can look into just to debug and see what the problem is before you send an electrician. So this is just the energy generation in relation to your radiant sensor. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to the next one. Okay, this is your solar power, which is basically the same. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the variance analysis. As you can see here, let's see, I'm gonna select. Okay, so you'll see here your expected energy simulation with your actual energy, and then 0 to 69% of expected energy, 70 to 98, 90 to 105. So if you're on the green side, that means you're meeting your target. If you're on the yellow side, you are okay. But if you're on the red side, you're not making much of your plants. You just need to have a look what happened at that time. Why is my expected energy so low? So these are the things that you just need to have a look at. So if I have a look there on the actual energy, that was 303 kilowatt hours, but their expected energy simulation was giving us 482.75. So the expected energy simulation is based on the radiance and the DC capacity that you've inputted it into the technical data of VCOM. So this is something that is calculated on the back end. So you need to make sure that the technical data is inputted correctly so that you can get the most accurate actual energy simulation. So you can see there are a few here. If I look at here, data was just not there. Maybe there's a comms issue, whatever it is. This is just a demo slide to show you what to expect, or this is like mostly the generic stuff of what to see on a normal site. So these are the things that will help you if you're like, oh, there's no data there. Something is wrong with my site, either the site is down or the internet is down. But grabbing data is very important. So you can see there, okay, this 3 days was not performing too well. It's still on the red. Maybe today it might reach target, but this is a software that will help you to also see if your site is performing. This is not something you don't have to type or make a formula on an Excel sheet. It's already done for you. Self-consumption is something generic. Most of you guys already know this, but yeah, that is there on VCOM. So I'm not going to touch on that. I'm going to touch on the very nice stuff that VCOM offers in comparison to other monitoring platforms, which you'll never find anywhere else. So now we will just tackle, I think this is a nice one that I want to tackle, what we call the heat map inverter. So the heat map inverter is more of a user-friendly, easy for asset managers. You don't have to be technically smart or to know all the terms, your performance ratio, your DC output power, your actual energy, your simulated expected energy, your energy losses. You don't have to know all those terms. All you have to do is like, okay, if my solar inverters are performing very well, they just need to be on the yellow side. If it's on the red side, I need to be worried about it. So this is more easy for your end clients. Like, you don't have to be technical smart, as mentioned. You'll see here my inverters are performing quite well. Not worried about it, but then inverter number 2, maybe it's not performing as it should, but this can be due to many reasons. But then you can see that the number of DC panels inputted into inverter number 1 and number 2, am I getting the most out of it? This sort of helps to show you that. So I know people mistaken this for the temperature of the inverter. No, it's not. The heat map is just the energy generated per interval. So what I'll do is I'll try to minimize this because I think I did input this on a monthly basis. Let's try to put it on a daily basis. Okay, this is much more perfect. So now this is okay, minute values. Not sure if this is still available, but let's see. So this is now on a daily basis. So now you can see that your inverter is quite in the morning, which is normal. This is something you need to expect. In the morning, you can see it's on the red side because the sun is not yet out. Then you can see the inverter starting to pick up over time. And there we go, it picks up. There it went a bit shady, not too sure why. But then you have to look more on the technical side. You look more in past days to see if this is a very common thing. Maybe there's a shade in this point every day, but there's so many factors you need to consider. So you can see here the inverters are performing quite well, and then the sun goes down and starts to turn red. Similar with inverter number 2, but inverter number 2 maybe there and there, but this is not much of an issue to look into. Performance side is performing. So I'm just going to look into past days to see how the site has been performing. And let's see. Okay, you can see there, okay, looking at past dates, inverter's been performing quite well, but inverter number 1 outperforms inverter number 2. For whatever reason that may be, you can just immediately just by visualization. I don't have to look at the numbers, how many kilowatt hours was it, easy visualization. And then there you have. So I'm just waiting for this to load, and then we can then move on to the next one. Okay, then you have this, which is your performance ratio. You can change the formulas and do your own performance ratio. There are ways to go about it. It's a bit of a work that you need to do, but you need to understand what you're doing. So now the performance ratio here, you will see based on the standard IEC, this is how it was, yeah. This is generic if you get the VCOM license. It's an IEC formula to calculate your performance ratio. And then you get to see also there, you can just read that. This shows the energy performance of a system for a selected period of time. For instance, now I'm just going to select, okay, just going to look at, let's look at maybe, I'm just going to go a few months back. And I will go to, yeah, let's say September. You can see that if your site is performing, normally if you look and also at your helioscope calculations, you also use helioscope. You will see that at the end of the whole thing, when you've imported your inverters, your panels, and everything, helioscope will give you then a performance ratio. Normally it ranges from 70% all the way to, let's say, 90% or 90-something%, but you'll never get 100%. That is not practically possible. So if you have your helioscope, you can actually start to see and compare the actual values or the actual performance ratio versus what your helioscope said. Most of you that use helioscope and VCOM will start to see that there are right now variances there and there. But what this helps you with, if all the data is being collected without any loss of data, this will be the most accurate performance ratio you'll ever get. The site here is performing 23%. This, as you just move over, okay, that day, I'm not too sure why, but you can say, let's say for instance, just how the site performed, 23% is not good. 23% is now below, you're not getting your money's worth for if you 23%. Anything above 75%, I think it's something normal to expect in a solar plant. But then this performance ratio then helps you to pinpoint why, pinpoint which day the performance was low, and to try to figure out what happened and then mitigate those risks. So this is very good for asset managers and also operation and maintenance team. You go, you move over, okay, the next day went to 71.88. I would be happy with that. And then we just continue and move over to 73. So that's very good. I am happy with that, but always try to target 80% if possible. So it's just a performance ratio that gives you, yeah, it's a very nice feature to have. Performance ratio gives you per day, and you get to see how your solar plants are actually. So yeah, just move over. You'll see that, okay, 80% means perfect, it's green. There was one day where it was green, the others 50%. But in a nutshell, I'll say this site is not performing as it should. So the performance ratio comparison, this is also the same performance ratio. I think I had a question somewhere. Was there a question?
It looks like Johnny is unmuted. Do you have a question? No, all good. You can continue, Alton.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is also maybe an easier one compared to the other one that I visualized or showed you. This is basically the same thing, just then put in a more user-friendly manner. So you'll see that that's the 23% that I showed you earlier on the performance ratio. This is just then a comparison. Anything below 50%, I'd regard that as bad. Between 50 to 80, to good, 100% is what we always target. So anything between 80 to 100, that's what you should always target. And this would also be just a personal preference. always try to maintain your site above 70%. Then you're within range, because there are other factors you need to consider, such as losses. It's not something you can run away from. But then targeting your site above 70% gives you a very good standing with your client, and also you can use this to guarantee performance ratio for clients and then actually show them the data to prove it. Okay. So, okay, let's see. Okay, so this on touch, basically roughly around about the same. Availability comparison, it's not available for this. But something to also note, meter control is always really new stuff. As you can see, that is new. I also have to go read up on it and see what does that mean, what does that entail. So there's always new things on VCOM that will help you grow your EPC companies, to help you asset managers to be confident to use the software, to help property developers to use this internally, financing companies to see that what we actually financed is actually giving back to our client. So this is like an value add for your company and also for your end clients. This data is something that you'll find is just the data collected directly from the inverter. All of that, the frequency, the DC voltage, it's already there. Installation is something you can find from any OEM monitoring platform, but this is something that we also can provide, so you don't have to rely specifically on that OEM's monitoring platform. And depending also on the inverter, most inverters, as long as those registers are available, and most of the inverters here in South Africa, we do have DC string or inverter MPPT monitoring side of things, which, as you can see here, I have my inverter input, and then I can see there from inverter 1 to say, okay, DC number 1 to it's 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 strings on this inverter, specific inverter. You can see, okay, there it is. I can see my currents, everything is actually perfect. The other one was down, you probably have to check your fuses. So the DC string monitoring side of things is available. And there's also what we call the heat map inverter stringing. So now it's not just an inverter string level. So depending on the inverters, you can have this feature as long as we have the data of the inverter. Just want to load this thing here and then see. Okay, there we go. There you have it. So you can see there, this is your inverter 1. You can see all of that data over there. Let me just see if I can pull from inverter number 2. Check all. Update graphics. Okay, perhaps then inverter number 2 doesn't have this capability. I'm just not going to mention the inverters by name. We're not here to talk about the inverters, but I do know the inverter that was inputted here. So inverter number 1, there we go. We can see on inverter strings. There you have a look. Okay, everything looks perfect. If one was down, you probably have a guy go there already with fuses to say, okay, just take a 20 amp fuse width and just look at inverter number 1, DC string number 1. So this is very helpful to do your fault finding. Very good, useful tool. Easy, quick visualization, but having to look at the values, you just go and look at the heat map. Everything's already there. Okay. Let's then see active power. Okay, so let's see how we're doing control here. Perfect. So you can then see also power control to say, okay, so at this side, I can tell you already, it says active power set point is minus 0.01, which means they're doing 0 feed in. So basically that's a 0 feed in, and then you can see that and also look at your power, and then also look at your irradiance. So these are very important key factors to actually have on your, as an asset manager, to have on your monitoring software. So if you're using VCOM, perfect. But if you're not, maybe you should reconsider, because then you can see what is the active set point from the grid operator. So if curtailment, what's happening now in this industry is like there's now so many solar plants. Now you need to know, based on the curtailment set by the grid operator, let's say grid operator is IBC South Africa, and then they then curtail your plant, you want to be able to see how much you lost based on the curtailment because of the grid operator. And then you have your own active power set point which you set your side. So you need to have this. It's very nice to have this technical data so you can actually see didn't meet the performance ratio because maybe then grid operator ABC actually curtailed your plot. So this is good to see. You'll be able to have this value. You can export it as a PDF or Excel sheet, which is most of the stuff you can export into Excel sheet, everything you can actually, and then you can actually just then do a reporting on it. So this is very nice to have. And then I'll just continue control visualizations, which is basically then this is more of your power control, but this is only available if you're using the blue log for control. So there are a lot of benefits having the hardware on site, because if you have then the hardware on site, we can then do more calculations that are related to power control to see how that affects your site. Okay. And then we have what, let's say there's a specific chart that you want to create, or specific, as you can see there, heat map coming soon, which you can display many other things. Hopefully I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, what you can do is you can create your own chart based on that. As long as we're collecting the data through the blue log and it's coming to VCOM, you can create a chart based on that. So for instance, now let's say you're not happy with what's already there, you want to create your own, you can just go to where I showed you now, create your own chart, and then just select what you want. Your calculated CO2, your energy export, import, whatever it is that you want. As long as that data is there, you can then create your own graph. I can select my stringings, to all the way to communication. How is the communication? Is it strong? You can remotely see that so that you can mitigate any risk of data loss. Or to your meters, any data we can collect, we can then visualize and create your own graph. Then I'm just going to select generic values, and then I say add measurement. Okay, that's fine. Then you can select your energy generated per interval. Where do you want to select it from? If there's another meter, you're going to have a long list. You see, I want to see that from the grid meter, power, grid meter. I mean, this is just generically selecting things. Then see, I can say inverter 1, inverter 2. You can input all that data. Then just click update. Okay, so then you need to select more here. Update, and then it will create a graph for you. So it's just currently loading. Okay, then you'll see there that I have a graph. I'm not sure if it's visible on your side. I am using a bigger screen. So let's see. Okay, I can just save this. Then I'll say test. There we go. Okay, apologies for how the graph looks, but then I just selected generic values, then I can recreate my own graph. If you're not happy with the line, you can do different variants or select different colors. This is all entirely up to you. You can do that here on your user defined. So I'm not sure if there's any questions. I mean, I'm going to jump through now maybe to other stuff. But let's see if we are still good for time. We should be good. Okay, only a few. Just give me a second. Do we have any questions yet, Sane? Nothing? All good?
Looks like it's all good. Just a reminder for everyone to please pop your questions into the chat section if you do have them. I keep an eye out to interrupt often.
Yeah, perfect. So now as you can see, there's different cockpits. I'm just going to continue. We do only have a few minutes left. So where I was on evaluation. That's where the whole data was. I did skip through the cockpit, but I think evaluation was a bit more important for me to showcase today. And then I'm just going to show you maybe a bit of cockpit. So cockpit is basically the visualization of what you want. So all of this, it's a default, I just inputted, I just placed that or inputted that into the monitoring page. So what you can do is you can always add your own widgets. I just click add. I mean, here you can see the power flow. How much I'm taking from the grid, PV, this is my load. Projection, your specific yield, your yield forecast. At this site, we do not have the yield forecast, but this is something that can be offered. And I know people are going to be very interested in this. next year. Then you can see a return on investment. If it's just a standard, you say 1 rand per kilowatt hour or 2 rand, whatever it is, you can then do your calculations. Say, okay, this is how much money my client has made back on your CO2. But let's say, for instance, you do not want to see this. You just want to see something else. But I can just delete that. Click OK. Go add your widgets. This is something that's possible within VCOM. You can add your own widgets there, like your alarm overview, your device events, all entirely up to you. So, for instance, I'll just take device events and I'm just going to add that because perhaps I want to see that. Then you'll see there's my device events, and then I'll just pop it there. So you can just move it around. I'm just going to make an ugly presentation out of this just to show you that this is possible. But you can sort of move it around and you can just have a look at the dates and everything. If you want to make it bigger, you can. I just want to see what happened. Severity, major. Okay, this is just info. 1 or more faults exist. So you do see that there's a few things happening, which is basically this of just Modbus rate. We're just reading off the inverters, and then we just put the data through. Work state 2, standby, the inverters standby. I'll just need to see what happened, 1 or more few faults. So all of that will be in there. And then you can just download the events. So this device events is what is connected, your inverter. You can see the events right there. Readily available for you. So you don't have, so this makes it easy to say, but the inverter gives me this. I can see the alarms. You can actually push those alarms onto VCOM for you to see and see that also on the computer. And then, yeah, I think we can also do some documentation. This is your reporting. You can then, within the documentation, go inside, create your own, and then from your templates, you can then say, okay, this is what I want to report out of it. I want to say my rand and my kilowatt hours. It's the only thing I want to see. Automated, send it to me weekly, monthly, or yearly, up to you. That is already available. I'm not going to show you in 10 minutes, but we're just going to jump over to the smart alarms. It's taking a bit of time. Okay. Okay, so let's say there's an alarm that happens. This is what we call a smart alarm. What happens is this is already automated. So if there's a problem and based on the threshold that you've put in, the smart alarms can then be created. You just need to activate it, create your thresholds. You can then create your smart alarms, which will, a threshold, and then your smart alarms will be already automated. Then you can see here, there's an alarm where it says total outage. The affected devices were true. Communication loss. So this seems like an internet issue, maybe. Don't know. You can see the duration, the affected power. You can see that there. So it sort of gives you a calculation based on the alarm to say, okay, this is the loss. Then here you can see the losses in kilowatt hours. Then here you can see 0. You can see the 109, and then it tells you the status is open. So now once you have this, what you can do is then you can say, okay, I want to action this. Let me then create a ticket for this alarm. Because the alarm is there, you then say, okay, I'm going to create my ticket. You're going to create, your title, however you specialize, however you set it up internally. You can say, okay, I'm going to call this ABC fault. And then I can give a description of the fault. And then I can, okay, there's the fault start date, how many affected devices. So this is already done for you. You just give a description, you say create ticket. Now you have a ticket for that alarm. Then what you can do now is to say, okay, because this ticket is there, and then I can say close alarm if you want to, or you can leave it open, all entirely up to you. For instance, now if I just click that, it's just going to close the ticket. Let's say you're done working on the ticket, say close alarm permanently. Why do you want to close it? Maybe this is just a nuisance alarm, which in most cases you will find it. You can then just type close alarm due to this and that. And then you have this already there in your let's say planning or inside, like, okay, we had an alarm, why was the alarm there? Everything is there. You can actually do a report on a monthly report to see what's happening on site, and then try to see how you can mitigate all the problems that are on site. So this is the ticketing or the smart alarm side of things. This is a topic all by itself. And then you can also create your own tickets there. Say create ticket, this and that. to create your, or to automate your workflow. I did mention about CMMS. This is something that you additional to the software where you can actually create work orders inside, create ticketing systems. This already as it is free, but this is only limited to the software. You can have it on your phone or create CMS or work orders, but you just create tickets. So if you want to explore more than just tickets and documentation and just use it as your internal software to check on your electricians, to check on if the job was done, you can actually incorporate the ticketing system with the CMS. So now you can just write a title, A, B, C, and then you write the description, the site's name, and then you say create ticket. Then you have a ticket over there, then more stuff comes up. You can then assign a person, you can say the priority, last changed. This is a description of everything that's in there. Service partner, you can put them in there, priority. I mean, all that data can be inputted in there. Then you can say fall date, start date, components that was affected. Was it a breaker? You can select the component to create how much affected power was there. Do you want to exclude this from a performance ratio calculation? Because site goes down, the performance ratio goes down. But if you want to exclude it for whatever reason, maybe it was operation and maintenance, you don't want this to be part of it, the performance calculations, because it's going to say you lost, you can just say exclude from. And then you can just put more details there, report, yes, no, summary, comments. You can make your comments every day. So this is basically a ticketing system that you're setting up. And then if the ticket is closed and you're done, you can say, okay, in progress, closed, assigned. If you assigned it to a person, it's been assigned. All of that is already available to you. Okay, then you can upload whatever it is, your yield losses. You can see a creation, assignment, assigned to Alton. Okay, that's from dash status change, open, assigned. So you can see and just look at the ticket. I mean, the ticket number is there. You can always keep track now. So okay, I need to go look at ticket 1376266. Did Alton finish the job? Okay, oh, it's still pending. All of that you can use. It's basically a ticketing system to also check on your electricians. It's very good for asset managers, EPC companies. This is the right tool to use. Everything's already ready for you to use. It's incorporated. So it's not just monitoring, it's also control, and it's having control over your assets. It's about 5 minutes. I'm not sure if we do have any questions. I will stop here. Hopefully it was not too much of a mouthful and it was like nice and brief. But yeah, if there is any questions, I think maybe leave this 5 minutes for questions, and then we can chat more. Maybe there's something you want me to touch on, or something that you wish to have sort of enough time to discuss it, or discuss it after the training. But before we do, before we start on the questions, I do want to emphasize on the cabinets that we do have cabinets available, and we think this was going to be very helpful for people who are looking into doing quick compliance. You're buying a solution that's already compliance ready, buying a solution that makes life easy. We do provide also technical support and give you the engineering directly from Germany into South Africa with our own in-house technical team that also assist you. So the technical support is there. It's not just IBC, meteocontrol is there to also support. So if you want to have inquiries on the cabinets with compliance, anything from CNI space, I mean, 100 kilowatts going upwards. Not that we cannot cater anything below 100 kilowatts, but we've seen the need, and I mean, most of you already use the block for small sites, but we've seen that there's a need, and we need to make people aware of the 100 kilowatt cabinets going up, and also big compliance. If you want to discuss great compliance, what that entails, feel free to reach out to your sales manager, and we will then create an appointment. So okay, at this time we can have a chat with you, and then we can see how we can help. And also the VCOM licenses we do offer, which is the monitoring side of things. Yeah. So any questions? Let's see. Questions. Okay, there's no questions. Do we have any questions? Anne, did you see anything?
No, I think all good. Looks like you covered quite a bit. There's no questions.
Yeah. hopefully it's enough. And we do apologize in the beginning of all that is technical issues. Some things you cannot avoid. We can try to mitigate as much problems, but sometimes it is just not possible. But we do thank you for attending, and we will be hosting more of this. This one was one of the first, and we want to tackle it more and more on the monitoring side and more on the hardware side. So there will be trainings that are coming specifically for the guys who are on site, for the guys who are monitoring, to tell the guys on site what to do. We see that there's need for this because now there's always a gap of knowledge in between, and this is it's not the most helpful thing. And we want to help you, EPC companies, everyone. You come to us, we help you understand the product. We do as much training as possible. Like, you don't have to worry as an asset manager. You tell the guy, please have a look, inverter number 1 is down, when the guy doesn't know anything about the monitoring side of things. So it's good that we have the technical team, the asset managers in, and then we'll also cater more on the financing side. And we'll be looking at tariffs, which is something we're going to bring up soon, on how to monitor or set that up on VCOM. So there's a lot that VCOM does offer, meteocontrol offers, but it's not something we do in one day or in one session. So the next session will come soon. So now we'll send out the first email, and it will be a specific topic. Those who would like to join that topic, like, okay, this topic does cater to me, I'd like to join. You can then join the webinar. But I thank you everyone for joining. Let's see, no questions. Okay.
Good. Thanks, Alton.
Thank you, Sinead.
Thank you everyone for joining.